Hi folks, this is Jason. Hope you are okay today. I'm just going to read part of a sermon called The Preacher's Power and the Conditions of Obtaining It, Brethren, by the Charles Spurgeon. Sorry, I was going to read the sermon then. By Charles Spurgeon, great Baptist preacher, June 1889. He writes, Brethren, we want to do rightly and effectively, and we cannot do it without power. Of course, no work of any kind is accomplished in this world without a certain expenditure of force, and the force employed differs according to the matter in hand. The sort of power which we feel in need will be determined by our view of our work, and the amount of power that we shall long for will also vary much depending upon our idea of how that work shall be done. I speak as unto a wise man who know their object and know also whence their strength must come. I speak also to men who mean to use their office as in the sight of God, but I think it desirable to stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, and put you and myself in mind of the grand design of which we need power. We could be ministers as some men are ministers without any power, either natural or acquired, merely to perform service, to use an ugly word perfunctorily, does not require special endowments. Any speaking machine might do as well. There are ministers whose sermons and whose whole services are so much a matter of routine and so utterly lifeless that if power from high were to come upon them it would altogether bewilder them. Nobody would know them to be the same person. The change would seem too great. The same things are said in the same tone and manner year after year. I have heard of a preacher whom one of his people likened to a steeple which had but two bells in it. From he said, "It's always ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong." "Oh," said his friends, you ought to be abundantly grateful that you have as much variety as that, for our man has only one bell, and his voice is forever ding 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 ding. And this is the case among nonconformists. It ruins the congregations, for it is death to every possibility of collecting people to hear, and still more is it murder to all hope of their being improved if they do hear. I should think it is by no means difficult with a liturgy to be read without much alteration all the year round, to become a fine example of either the ding-dong or the ding-ding-ding with us, whose devotion is of a free sort. There is less excuse for monotony, and if we fall into the fault, the result will be more disastrous. It is possible, even without a liturgy, to pray in a very set and formal style. Indeed, it's so possible as to be frequent, and then the long prayer become a severe affliction upon an audience. The shorter prayers are not much better. When I have thought of the preaching of a certain good man, I have wondered not that the congregation was so small, but that it was so large. The people who listen to them ought to excel in the virtue of patience, for they have grand opportunities for exercising it. He's good, Spurgeon. I have frequently said of myself that I would not go across the road to hear myself preach, but I will venture to say of a certain brethren that I would even go across the road in the other direction not to hear them preach. Some sermons and prayers lend a colour of support to the theory of Dr. William Hammond that the brain is not absolutely essential to life. Brethren, I trust that not even one of you will be content with mechanical services devoid both of mental and spiritual force. You will none of you covet earnestly the least gifts and dullest mannerisms, for you can obtain them without excursion of the will. You desire to do your master's work as it ought to be done, and therefore you long for excellent gifts, and still more excellent graces. You wish that people may attend to your discourse, because there is something in it worthy of their attention. You labour to discharge your ministry not with lifeless method of an automaton, but with the freshness and power which will render your ministry largely effectual for its scarce purpose. I am bound to say also that our object certainly is not to please our clients, nor to preach to the times, nor to be in touch with modern progress, nor to gratify the cultured few. Our life work cannot be answered by the utmost acceptance on earth. Our record is on high, or it will be written in the sand. There is no need whatsoever that you and I should be chaplains of the modern spirit, for it is well supplied with busy advocates. Surely Ahab does not need Messiah to prophesy smooth things to him, for there are already 400 prophets of the grove who are flattering him with one consent. We are reminded of the protesting Scotch divine in evil days who was exhorted by the synod to preach to the times. He asked, "Do you, brethren, preach to the times?" They boasted that they did. "Well then," said he, "if there are too many of you who preach for the times, you may well allow one poor brother to preach for eternity." We leave without regret the people of the hour to the men of the hour. With such eminently cultured persons forever hurrying on with their new doctrines, the world may be content to let our little company keep to the old-fashioned faith, which will still believe to have been once and for all delivered to the saints. I love Spurgeon. Don't you just love the guy? He's just awesome. Those superior persons who are so wonderfully advanced and may be annoyed that we cannot consort with them, but nevertheless so it is that it is not now and never will be any design of ours to be in harmony with the spirit of the age, or in the least desirous to conciliate the demon of doubt which rules the present moment. Brethren, we shall not adjust our Bible to the age, but before we have done with it, by God's grace, we shall adjust the age to the Bible. We shall not fall into the error that absent-minded doctor had to cook for himself an egg, and therefore depositing his watch in the saucepan, he stood steadfastly looking at the egg. The change to be wrought is not for the divine chronometer, but for the poor egg of human thought. We make no mistake here. We shall not watch our congregation to take our cue from it, but we shall keep our eye on the infallible word and preach according to its instructions. Our Master sits on high, and not in the chairs of the scribes and the doctors who regulate the theories of the century. We cannot take our keynote from the wealthier people, nor from the leading officers, nor even from the former ministers. How often have we heard an excuse for heresy made out of the desire to impress thoughtful young men? Young men, whether thoughtful or otherwise, are best impressed by the gospel, and it's folly to dream that a preaching which leaves out the truth is suitable to men, either old or young. We shall not quit the word to please the young man, nor even the young woman.